This is a review of Survivor Season 47, Episode 6, Feel the FOMO. We are going to recap the entire epic episode of Survivor. I'm Dylan. I have Richie here with me. Richie, scale 1 to 10, how good was this pre-merge episode?
8-7?
8-7.
It was up there.
8-7.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's up in the top tier, earn the merge, especially
Mhm.
new era. We're going to recap the whole episode. We're going to retitle the episode. We're going to do a Survivor press conference where we, if we could, in the moment, ask Jeff or a castaway a question. What would it be? And yeah, we're going to do stock up, stock down, and decide who is going home next week. But a little order of business from last week. If you were following along, Richie correctly chose for the second week in a row the right castaway to go home. You picked Rome, and Rome went home. Rome went home. That could be the title. I am going to pour up this shot. Shout out Shabuzi. Shout out you texting me this, but double shot. Technically 3 shots, but who's counting?
Yeah, true.
But yeah, tell me how you were feeling about your chances the whole way through while I pour and take this.
I was feeling very bad at first, and I thought I was going to be the one who had to take a shot.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but at one point, Rome puts a lot of stuff onto Kyle, and it seems, oh, wow, like everybody kind of hating Kyle right now. And so I was like, oh, dang, Dylan picked Kyle. I have a good shot of having to take a shot this next episode. But luckily, Kyle spinned it back really quick. Saul kind of helped him out a little bit. We'll talk about that. But once it got to Kyle winning the immunity, I thought I had a really good shot of getting 2 in a row. So
did not chill the Crown Royal this time. That one hurt. I'm gonna have to get it back. Yeah, dude. I mean, to start the recap, the episode opens with Rome. We get the previously on Survivor where Rome is breaking down the episode and he's talking in the third person, talking about himself. And it's funny because he was such a divisive figure, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, this kind of worked. We saw Tevin do the opener last season where that was pretty epic. We get Rome here, which kind of like fits based off of his personality. And like, I'm sure he ran with that. But when it starts off with Rome starting to highlight the episode and talk about himself, I was thinking, oh my, I wrote it down, but I was like, Rome starts the episode. It's his season. If you like it or not is what I wrote down. But I guess what I should have said is it's his episode. Because even Jeff said on the podcast, this whole episode is all really through the eyes of Rome. It's like, it's very Rome centered. And I mean, a lot of the season has been, he's been the loudest character. He's been playing the hardest of anyone. We get this kind of interesting recap, which I feel like back in the day, like, I don't know if you watched these very regularly, but like Jeff used to like really intentionally narrate them. And I don't remember when that fell off, but he used to be like, when Rupert got back to camp, he realized, you know what I mean? Like he was telling us rather than letting the survivors maybe tell us. So yeah, it made me realize that doesn't really happen anymore, but we get interesting intro. And yeah, Yellow gets back to camp right after Tribal. And I believe it's Rachel that says, well, no one can say that Survivor 47 is boring. And that's certainly true. Because I can't think of a season pre-merge that was this good. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah. I think last season could maybe be close, but I think this season definitely takes it so far.
Yeah, like and Banu was kind of in the early character last season too, but that felt more like heavy and not like super gameplay, more just like what is going on. We've seen so much gameplay in the early time of this season. It's pretty amazing. Andy seems to be pretty hyped. He's like he called it Blindside City. He was so hyped to send Annika home. We see Sam and Sierra kind of talking to Rachel. Like I feel like Sam has broken up with quite a few ladies where he's like, hey, look, I still want to play with you. Like I know we voted Annika, but I still want to play with you. Meanwhile, Andy's like, look, I knew Annika had it out for me. I had to like, and I like what Andy is bringing to the table.
He's got some confidence all of a sudden. It's made it kind of fun.
Yes, 100%. Yeah,
He's a very different player than he was those first 2 or 3 days.
yeah, and like you're kind of rooting for him, and even as this episode
Hmm.
goes on, like that just becomes more and more true. Um, then we get the morning, and it is the drop your buffs moment. Again, we don't hear Jeff say it, which I think I pointed out last season that I like hearing him say drop your buffs. I think that's an epic Survivor moment. But they all each get a letter saying, drop your buffs, grab your belongings. The blue tribe just hears, hey, everyone's coming here. And you
Hmm.
get Sue in kind of desperation mode, tries to rinse off her idol and brings up the red paint that was everywhere. I do wonder, and this could be a press conference thing, if they were like, dude, we got to go to blue camp. We got to bring everyone to blue
Yeah.
camp. Because, I mean, one, that island looks pretty sick and kind of seems to be the main camp. But also, like, there's some stuff around this camp that is, could show some bad evidence for some people.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
And
kind of the only ones that had anything like that happen. Like none of the other tribes finding. I guess none of them really found their second idol,
yeah,
but
true.
they were the only one that had something that you could have like had to hide or clean
Yeah.
up or something. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Everyone arrives to the blue beach and then they see a sign. Sign says, hey, look, there's an advantage hidden somewhere on this beach, on this island, on this camp. Go. They talked about it on the podcast. What do you make of this? Like, because I feel like this didn't really happen in old Survivor, where they
Hmm.
they are the ones kind of running their challenge. Do you like that like method of go and everyone's kind of looking at each other like, wait, are we
I
starting?
like it for some things. Like sometimes they'll do it for like a small reward or something, and I think those ones are fun. For something like this, where it's a little bit bigger and has more of an impact, I don't like it as much.
Yeah,
I also didn't like how slow everybody kind of reacted after he said go. I mean, this
yeah,
was a shot to earn your spot in the merge,
yeah.
so to say. I mean, maybe they didn't know that 100%, but I mean, you could get that from what the note said. So, I mean, as soon as he said go, I would have taken off. I was surprised if people didn't.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and I don't know if it's a new era thing, but it's clear that like people now are really focused on the social side of the game more than anything.
Hmm.
Like, even, I mean, I was surprised Rome didn't book it and think like, I got to be the
Yeah.
one to find this. I'm the guy. Like, I got this. But yeah, really, everyone. They tried to cut around to show people looking around, but it didn't seem to go that far. Someone was like, I think Jeff's gonna be disappointed in us.
They
Um,
stopped looking at one point.
yeah, they stopped looking and they're like, did you find it? Oh, I thought you might have found it. I thought you might have found it. And
Could
then,
you imagine Tony ever stopping until he knew
oh
that that advantage
gosh,
wasn't there?
that's what I'm saying. Russell wouldn't have even read the sign. Russell would have
Hmm.
been looking before they were like while they were reading. He would have been
Yeah.
gone. Yeah, Tony would have been an all-out sprint. It's
Hmm.
very interesting, but I mean, it plays out the way it does. We end up seeing people pair off in really interesting ways that we haven't seen yet. I mean, you do hear Teeny is hyped about a fresh start. You get Saul and Sue, the old heads, if you will, both in their 40s. I still don't know why that's continuing on.
We
And
look good for 45.
we look good for 45. No, it should be the opposite way. It should be you look good for 58 or however old
Yeah, because
Sue
she don't
is.
look good for 45 if she was 45.
Yeah, I was talking to a coworker about it, and there's got to be some sort of payoff. The fact that they keep going back to this thing, or it's
Hmm.
just like it's not common that people lie, maybe in the new era, and so they're like, let's show it as much as we can. But yeah, pretty funny. And then Sam and Genevieve are out walking. They see a buoy, and like because buoys have never been introduced, like I'm sure they probably have safety buoys of something like, hey, guys, don't
Hmm.
swim out this far. I'm sure they have it, but we've never seen it. So the fact that like, why would Survivor show us one of their weird safety things unless it was legit? And yeah, they even like pointed out and whatnot. It'll come back in a second because a couple things happened before that. Um, because everyone stumbles upon the murder scene, which is kind of a really hilarious part that they're like, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, something went down here. And what is it? And they're slowly like, it's like a crime scene where they're like, oh my gosh, they find the pot and they're like, oh, but it's like, it's on the trees, it's on the well, it's like everywhere.
Hmm.
And like, because only a few people were around when Sue found that idol, like no one really, people think, oh, maybe this is the advantage. And yeah, like you get a great moment when they tell Sue a little later. They're like, "Oh yeah, we found a bunch of red paint over there," and it cuts in on her face, and she is legitimately shocked, which is what you, I guess, want to be. But she's more shocked in that, "Oh no, I'm going to get found out." Were you surprised that she was able to keep it under wraps? And I mean, it seems that Caroline and Tiana seem to connect the dots.
Yeah, they definitely knew right away, I think, and I was surprised at how like good she hit it.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
I have a good feeling next episode more is going to come from this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that like one action like that can almost haunt someone like
Hmm.
Sue or whoever would have found it. Like I think that was the purpose of it splattering like that. And yeah, we thought, oh, she cleaned up the scene, we're good to go. Nope. If we all went to Yellow Camp, it would have been gone forever and fine. But might have to be something that Sue owns up to soon, or it's now. It seems like Caroline used it and was like, "Congratulations, Sue." It connected in her head in a
Hmm.
good way, which was a good thing for Sue. But it's tough.
On the other hand, I think Tiana kind of might think the opposite.
Right. Tiana seems more suspicious for
Hmm.
sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, pretty wild. Eventually Genevieve though goes like, "Yo, there's something eating at me. It's that buoy. I got to go get it." And it's so funny. Her attitude is great cuz she's like reluctant a little bit like, "Ugh, I'm going to get wet and I'm going to have to go out there and do this." But she goes and gets it, dude. And there was like a shot there where she's out there with the buoy and struggling a bit, but then she finds it and like her smile is just so big out there and there's just such pure joy of like, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, I found it. And like that's when Survivor's at its best is when like you see these peak moments of emotion of like shock from a blind side, of joy from finding an idol, of like, winning a challenge, all this stuff. It was a moment that I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool. Like what
Yeah.
a moment you find this like advantage. Who knows what it could be? And it's one of those presented to Jeff at a challenge, and he'll let you know whether. Sometimes they would give him things to practice with. If it was like, we'll give, remember that? Like it'd be like, we're gonna give
Hmm.
you, or they'll give you
Yeah.
less pieces to like have to build. We'll get to that in a bit, but big for Genevieve. She even comes back and tells everyone because that's one you don't have to keep a secret. And Sam was like, "What?" Another really good, like, awesome, genuine moment of just like he's like, "Oh my gosh, we saw it. It was right there." And I said no. Sam was the one that was like, "Nah," but Genevieve was smart enough to go back. Genevieve doing things after being quiet early
Hmm.
on. Um,
Yeah.
Pretty sick. And then yeah, we cut to the socializing from this merged tribe. And this is where we get some Rome scheming that honestly is laid out so perfectly. What did you make of this? Because he's sitting there with Sue at sunset, but it's cutting back and forth
Hmm.
between a conversation he was having with Kyle and he was outing people. Did you feel
Yeah.
in this moment he was playing hard and it was going to work out for him? Or did you feel like, oh, there's no way this is going to go well?
I thought he was playing hard, and I did think it was going to work out for him. This is kind of where I was talking about earlier, where he was going back and he was, I mean, squeezing information out of Kyle. Anything he wanted to get from Kyle, Kyle was giving it to him so easily,
Yeah.
and all true things too. Like nothing, he wasn't lying. Like
He was an
no
honest
hesitation
guy.
from
Yeah.
Kyle. Yeah.
Kyle's an honest guy. Like it's smart to like
Hmm.
go for someone like that, but the honesty, I mean, will end up hurting him.
And yeah, so when it cuts back to him like telling Sue everything, I'm like, oh no, like Kyle's in trouble for sure. Especially once he tells like Tiana too,
Yeah.
and that was the big one. But I don't think he knew how close Tiana and Kyle were because then Tiana goes right back to Kyle, tells
Yeah.
him what Rome has been saying that he's been saying, and that's where Rome goes downhill quick.
Yeah. He tells Kyle, like, or I don't know that he tells Kyle, but like Tiana ends up with Saul. I forget who's in that scene
Hmm.
there, but Saul is the
Yeah.
one that gets to T-bone it. And it's so funny
Hmm.
that Saul only says like 3 words or 3 or 4 words, but he's like, that's what Rome does. And like the air is sucked out of everybody because everyone's like, wait,
Yeah.
what? And they're like, dude, no, Rome's
Was this
been
like was
doing
this
this.
even true? Yeah.
Yeah, and then suddenly everyone's just all on board. You get a big speech from Kyle at the water well, which is like super like, oh my gosh, I really did feel like I was a part of like a little plan here. And he was being so honest. And he's like, look, I'm a dumb country honest boy, whatever. And and then you see the ruthless side of him be like, you know what, I'm gonna take this guy out. And you're like, oh shoot,
Hmm.
Kyle's got a spine and he's scary.
Yeah.
Which was a pretty awesome move. And it seemed like it all just came together so well against Rome. And it was like, oh my gosh. A part of me is, of course, the way Survivor lays it out is I'm like, oh, maybe they're going to show like Rome is going to get out of this somehow. Because at this point,
Hmm. For
I
sure.
was like, sure, they're all on him, but these episodes are never straightforward, ever. And I mean, it still
Hmm.
wasn't in a way, but like, I was like, dude, Rome is going to get out of this somehow. Did you feel from that moment when Kyle, how did that shift for you?
I didn't think he was going to have a shot unless it was one of the things because we didn't know yet how the merge or who was going to make the merge was going to work.
Yeah.
And so I thought maybe, oh, he'll be on the winning team or whatever. Like he'll be safe. Kyle won't be
Yeah.
safe, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then we obviously get to immunity, and that's not how it works out.
Yep. The immunity challenge is set up different. It's earn the merge like always, or like it's been in the
Hmm.
new era, I should say. But it's a two-tiered challenge, two teams, and then if you win the first team challenge, everyone gets a meal. But then everyone who gets a meal goes up against each other for individual immunity, and that person gets immunity, gets the merge. And yeah, do you like this way of getting the merge going? I mean, I think this is a little different, but it's essentially how it's been going.
Yeah, I honestly think I liked this a little bit more than the half and half,
Yeah,
especially because, I mean, we talked about it last episode. They brought back the schoolyard pick.
they did, but
And
they didn't show us.
not even just, I didn't think they were going to show us, but not even just schoolyard pick for like a dumb reward. This had implications
Yeah,
behind it.
the
Like this was a
implications.
big time schoolyard pick.
Yeah. Yeah, why would you show me something if I can't have it? Like Kevin Garnett gif is kind of how I felt. And there was a deleted scene. I don't know. Did I send it to you? I might have sent it to you.
Yeah, I
It
watched it.
it was a little. I mean, I get why they cut it. It ultimately nothing
Hmm.
that crazy came out of it other than Andy. I saw that Gabe did tweet and he was like, "Just so everyone knows, I was one of one," which is like Tiana picks him first. It was like, dude, Gabe is. I don't know what that means. Why would you have to tweet that? But he tweets a lot during the
Yeah.
show, is what I learned. They do a
Mm.
schoolyard pick. It is funny. Yeah, they're listening to the show, man. We ask, they hear, and yeah, dude, it's great. It was interesting how the teams ended up. I mean, Kyle and Sam kind of on the same team just has felt dangerous before, and it was here. Kind of in
Yep.
this challenge, the puzzle plays out where it's Gabe and Rome will not give it up and could be to his demise, of course.
Hmm.
He didn't know he was on the hot seat. He was probably feeling good. He was feeling good. He thought Saul was on the hot seat, or Kyle. People were mad at Kyle. I don't know. Um, he
You got to
messes.
like the effort, though. I mean, he continues to take the last shot even though he doesn't make them. Kind
Yeah,
of like a Steph Curry situation.
yeah,
Wants the ball in his hands, can't hit the game winner, but
yeah,
won't give it up. Which I mean, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
yeah. And if you don't give it up, like you will get the blame. That's the hard
Hmm.
part. Is like and I know he didn't get that puzzle. He only got one puzzle piece, or didn't get any puzzle pieces last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever that was. And that was like funny
Yeah.
and whatnot. But like, this is a time where it was like, dude, you really need this. And but I get it. We've talked about it a bunch on here too. Is like you want to probably feel like you're in control. And like I know
Hmm.
if I'm doing a puzzle, I know I will do my best, and my best I think is pretty good. It's probably better than yours, and that's where Rome's thinking. And
Hmm.
it's just so dangerous to be that competitive. And yeah, this is where it showed out. And then we get the kind of balancing immunity challenge for the immunity necklace, which is the giant bat, the Jack Skellington immunity necklace. It seems as we're in
Yeah.
Scaretober. What did you call it? What are the Boston guys?
Spooktober.
Spooktober. Excuse me. Jack Skellington bat thing doesn't lay well. Not my favorite immunity necklace.
Wow. See, I literally wrote down that this was the best immunity necklace of all time.
What? Really? Of all time?
I thought it was sick,
I
bro.
just feel like it's not laying very flat. Again, this is Jack
They
Skellington.
never lay right, but
They never lay right. That's true. Sometimes they do,
yeah.
but like it does. They're
You
always
can't
like
take the how it lays away from it. It looks so cool though.
it's too
And the fact
bulky.
that Kyle wins the first one, he has the bat tattoo on his back.
Yeah, that's pretty
It
tough.
it was just it was kismet, bro.
Yeah, it was Kyle won, got to the end with Sue, I believe, right? It was him and Sue at the
Hmm.
very end, which again, Sue just continuing to prove. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, sure I'm 45, but I can still hang with the with the young kids who are, just a couple years younger than me. Which was good to see. It was funny. They go through the mud again too, and everyone's just kind of baptized by mud again, just into this merge, covered in mud. Kyle wins. Such a big episode for Kyle because, yeah, like you said, this could have went the complete wrong way, and it didn't. It didn't. And they get to the feast, which is at camp, and Sam's a little too excited, in my opinion, for charcuterie. I can't believe that's the
He
thing
was
he was
pumped.
looking forward to. I was like, charcuterie, really?
Well, from a guy who doesn't eat a whole lot of
Yeah.
crazy foods, I guess it makes
Yeah,
sense.
and
Just
maybe I'm
meat and
calling
cheese.
BS on it a little bit. He's like, who wants to see me eat pineapple? Who wants to? Oh, guys, Sam is a fan of pineapple. It's like, dude, relax, relax, calm down. We get it. You're cool. You're interesting. Whatever. Yeah, everyone's kind of drinking and whatnot, like sort of having fun, but then like it kind of immediately does get to gameplay where
Hmm.
it's like, dude, it's got to be Rome or that's kind of it. They throw around like who should be second, which is, I guess, something you have to do in the new era with the
For
shot in the
sure.
dark, which is why they want shot in the dark in there so that nothing is a guaranteed play. They say like Sierra and Sam are cool with Andy being the backup plan, and Andy would have no idea, of course, because he's not at
Yeah, it
this
didn't seem
feast.
like they were super cool, but I thought they did a good job of hiding it because you don't want to show like we really don't want him to go because he's super close to us and we have him in our back pocket.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And then yeah, kind of scrambling happens, and it does seem pretty automatic that it's Rome and that Andy's the backup, and Rome is fully confident that it is Saul. Like fully confident. Even says that like he's like, this isn't like MJ, like this is like MJ versus Kirk Heinrich is what he brings up. Kirk Heinrich,
Hmm.
Rock Chalk Jayhawk, Kirk Heinrich reference in Survivor. I'm cool with it. But ultimately, I mean, Rome ends up being Kirk Heinrich, where it's like, you're good for a little bit. You're good for a little bit. Kirk Heinrich had a few good years.
Yeah, and I mean,
But
he thinks he's the most powerful person of all time right now. He
yeah,
says that must say a lot about how I'm playing the game
yeah.
because he thinks he has 13 people doing whatever he wants.
They were stacking sound bites of him and
Hmm.
his confidence, and I was like, dude, I wonder if the producers really were like, man, this is going to be a very satisfying episode for fans because I mean,
I was waiting.
yeah, like
I was just waiting for like another plan, and no other plan comes up.
nothing comes up. It's like, dude, this is what's gonna happen. Even like, if is Rome
Hmm.
gonna hear about it, and then Rome gonna play a shot in
Yeah.
the dark? Like that wasn't even
Hmm.
a thing. There's no swaying. No one broke with telling Rome, which is crazy because it was like what 12 of them out there. Huge, huge tribal. Even Jeff points out. We'll get to tribal now. So at tribal, Jeff's like, holy crap, a lot of torches, and it was so many bodies up there. And it's crazy that only one person's going home. But tribal was also just the Rome show, right? Like there
Hmm.
really wasn't much else to interview and whatnot and to really figure out. Nothing was going to give anything away that it was going to be Rome. Um, and then you kind of get this moment of Rome going over to Jeff's seat, which Jeff offers up. It's not a let me
Yeah.
sit there. Jeff says, why don't you come over here and explain why the amulet should be flushed, which we should talk about that too. This happens in tribal as
Well, he
well.
said why the amulet was a bad
A
advantage.
bad advantage. Which what did you make
Hmm.
of that whole moment? Because I mean, obviously as a Survivor fan, that would be a cool thing to happen.
Oh
But
yeah, that
I
was sick.
but it sets a precedent, right? I mean, and
Hmm.
what do you think of his point about the amulet?
I 100% agree. I think the amulet could have been played better if everybody didn't go back and tell the truth.
Yeah,
But I think because it didn't have a whole lot of repercussions tied with it, it made it so easy for everyone to go back and tell the truth on what they got.
yeah, yeah. Because the amulet, obviously, being that everyone has to decide together, but if
Hmm.
someone gets voted out, the amulet gets stronger. Then it becomes an idol if there's with one person left. Good in theory, but yeah, you tell everyone that kind of ruins the mystery.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, he Rome gets his moment. He comes back. He gets pretty emotional, and he says that is gonna. It almost says that like he almost says like this would make Survivor worth it, but he stops and he says something
Yeah.
like he's like this is like something I'll never forget. Is kind of what he
Hmm.
changes to because he's a competitor. He doesn't want to say this would be the best thing in Survivor. You want to win Survivor, but it was kind of funny that it's like, no, dude, that is going to be your best moment in Survivor. That is, he won.
Yeah.
He helped win a challenge narrowly too, and he did a lot of other cool things. But that is a big moment, and that has never happened before. Might not ever happen again. But we get to the votes. It's so funny. Everyone has their like moment to vote for Rome and speak their piece in a very,
Hmm.
again, stacking it on this guy after weeks of having to deal with his confidence and whatnot. I couldn't tell if I was like, is this mean or are we piling on a little more? Like, did you feel like they were piling it on, or did you feel like it was worth it? It was earned.
I didn't think they were piling on. I mean, I think when you're someone who plays that hard, it's
Yeah,
almost like if you dish it, you got to be able to take it, kind of thing.
yeah. And I
So yeah,
mean,
I didn't think it was too hard. I mean, Andy with another 2 weeks in a row, great confessional, just speaks German the entire time. I have
yeah.
no idea what he said, but
Andy might be, and maybe this is an award we give out at the end of the season, but like a
ooh,
confessional king. Like he is a
I like that.
confessional king, where it's
Yeah.
like confessional king or queen, and you vote like who has the best ones. Andy's getting up there now, man. Andy's getting
Yeah.
from the psychotic break he had in episode 1 to now, like you said, hilarious, and the confidence he had too. Even like another
Hmm.
great moment in Tribal 2 is he's like, they're like, "You're at Tribal. How does everyone feel?" And like Andy, or at one point, is like, "Dude, Blindsiding Annika was fun as hell, honestly." And I thought that was great too. I was like, "Yes, Andy, yes, that's awesome." But everyone, yeah, kind of dunks on Rome. The amulet gets played right before the votes are read, and you could tell Jeff's a little disappointed too by that. Like, what? Oh, come on, that hurts. But they play it, and for a second, I was like, what if they put this on Rome? What if they all go together and go Rome, and then like Sam goes home? That would have been, because I was talking with coworkers about it too. Like that would have been insane gameplay in an awesome way
Yeah.
if those three got together and go, look, I know we hate Rome, but we could shake up the whole game right now if we wanted to.
Hmm.
Us three could
Yeah.
put all three votes on Sam or on, Gabe or someone else that maybe is more
Hmm.
intimidating. But no one really wanted to play that way. They just wanted to flesh it. They give the idol, the amulet to Teeny. Um, and yeah, we get the votes, and we get a pretty satisfying face from Rome as he's kind of realizing it. Andy gets a couple votes. Sam, yeah, I don't know why Rome picked Sam last minute too. Throw a wrinkle in
So
things.
that actually brings up my press conference. I mean, I put Rome. Did you mean to write Sam? Because he had been talking the entire time about writing down Saul,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, maybe he just mixed up his letters. He got nervous. I don't know.
Well, he says in the confession, he's like, "Let me mix things up real quick," and he puts Sam's, and maybe that meant, maybe he thought,
Mm.
"Oh, dude, there are gonna be so many votes on Saul. Let me just do this as a
Oh,
little insurance. Maybe Saul is
yeah.
keen to something. Maybe he has something. I don't know." Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, Rome gets his torch snuffed. He gives Jeff a hug. I can't see not giving Jeff a hug. I've thought of that a billion times. I also don't think my
Yeah.
torch will ever get snuffed. So
Hey.
for better or worse, meaning I'm in the final tribal, or I'm just never play, or I get ejected from the game. I don't know. I don't know. It could be anything. Medivac.
Ejected. Wow.
Hey, you never know, man. I mean, what can happen? Yeah, he gives him a hug. What else do you have to say about Rome? Let's have a moment for Rome real quick. Anything else you want to say? He's Phoenix guy, real nice
Yeah. I
at
mean,
the
I think I hated him at first,
yeah,
and the more that I watch it now, I respect the gameplay. He was playing hard. It didn't end up working out, but I definitely think he'll be getting a callback.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, he's probably the one of the like top 5 most memorable pre-merge survivors of all time.
Hmm.
Like you could definitely say
Yeah.
that in his loud gameplay. In
And it'll be interesting to see if we feel this way like 2, 3 seasons down the
sure,
line.
yeah.
But I definitely think he is for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he played 2 advantages correctly. I
Hmm.
believe correctly. He played 2 advantages. He had them. Yeah, just flew a little close to the sun, and got a little too aggressive. And that's kind of how he was playing. That's kind of how you got to do it. Is either just
And
lean
I
in.
wonder if he'll learn from that and play still aggressive, but a little bit less the next time
Yeah,
he plays, if he does.
yeah. I mean, I wonder if everyone will just be expecting him to. He's gonna, if he shows up,
Hmm.
people are gonna be like, "Oh, I know Rome, and I know Rome's game." He's gonna have to like earn trust the next time he comes back
That's the thing
because
with those two, though, is that like you could say the same thing about every person that they bring back because they're bringing these people back for a reason.
right, right, 100%.
So
We'll see, we'll see. So you're Survivor. We'll move to Survivor press conference now. Your question is for Rome.
yeah,
Are you sure you wanted to go for Sam there? That's wild.
yeah.
Are you, I definitely want to know how Rome was feeling right after this. I know
Hmm.
you get the confessional, but like I wonder as he was watching the episode. I know he's done interviews on podcasts and stuff, but yeah, I mean, just watching all that's got to be pretty hard for a guy who seemed to have a pretty big amount of confidence. That's a pretty big hit to the confidence to watch that episode. And what we talked about, like, would you want to watch this with a big crowd of people? If I was Rome, I would not want to watch this episode with a big crowd of people. Like, unless you felt
Yeah.
good laughing at yourself because you are
Hmm.
the butt of this episode, unfortunately. For better or for worse. I also want to know from Jeff, like, Jeff, are you now worried that that's going to happen again? That someone's going to be like, Jeff, let me sit in your seat, which he could get sassy and just say no.
Yeah.
Which was funny in the podcast episode they did on Fire. He said that in one of his notes about Rome, that if Rome got out early in a challenge or sat out for a challenge, that he was going to let Rome commentate. So it seemed
Oh
like
wow.
that moment where he says, "Hey, Rome, want to come sit up here?" It was kind of in
Hmm.
that same vein. And Jeff must have, and there were great tweets about it.
He
Like,
knew.
yeah,
Yeah.
Jeff knew this was maybe the end for Rome, and it was like, let's just let this
Hmm.
guy have his last meal of whatever he wants. Have him sit here, and he did a good job. And you could tell even
For
Sam, who's a
sure.
sideline reporter, who's a professional host in a way. Sam's like, that's cool. He got to do that. It's like, yeah, dude, it is cool. And I wonder, yeah, Jeff, are you worried that's going to happen again? Nice. All right, that's the Survivor press conference. Go stock up, stock down. Who do you got for your stock up, stock down? I think it's some easy choices here, potentially.
I honestly thought it was kind of difficult just because we didn't get a whole lot from other people this episode.
Yeah.
But I went stock up with Saul.
Yeah, I did too.
I mean, his number one enemy out of the game.
Yep.
He seemed to make a good play, kind of gained some trust almost with like Tiana and Kyle,
Yeah.
helped them out a little bit. So,
Yeah, and I feel like as you see your tribe members go home, because I think there's only a few left from Red now, maybe
hmm,
three, maybe four. I think three. I think it's Saltini
yeah,
and Genevieve. Is
yeah,
like you become free agents, and I think that's where Saul is. Saul is a free agent. He could join with Blue. He could join with Yellow or whatever he wants to do. I think Saul is in a great spot. And it was awesome that they cut to him right before they read that last Rome vote too, because he was so happy. And that's like, oh, that's hilarious. I got stock up with Saul as well. Who do you got stock down?
this one I thought was honestly pretty tough.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go stock down with Sue,
Hmm.
and I think I put this just because I think Tiana kind of figured out that she does have an idol, and I think that could come back to haunt her a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Sue makes sense. I went with Sam here. Got a couple 3-letter S names. Sam, Sue, Saul.
Mm.
Um, I got Sam mostly
Ooh.
because yeah, we'll see how Andy feels about being the second option there too. I
Yeah.
think, and they showed a little bit of the preview too, but Andy looks like he could be scary to deal with after this, and
Hmm.
I think that could come back to Sam. I don't know, like this Sam being the fun loving everyone like. I think that's gonna hurt him eventually, and this was an example of like, man, throwing Andy under. Andy's been so loyal to him too.
Yeah.
If he catches any wind of that they were cool with that, I don't know. I think Sam takes a hit here. So
I thought that too, and then I think it does help Sam though that he got a vote as well.
true, true. That makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah. We'll see how he takes that. But all right, cool. Let's rename the episode before we talk about who goes home next week. This episode was called "Feel the FOMO." What do you have instead? That's a decent name. We can do better.
I wrote something that Kyle says when Jeff asked him a question about what it felt like getting back on the beach, and Kyle goes, "It's just a twisted up conundrum," and so that's
Twisted
what I
up
went with the
conundrum.
new name. I thought it was a good name for a an almost merge episode.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of people coming together.
Yep. That's a good name. It's a good name. I went with something Andy said like right at the beginning of the episode. He says Blindside City. He said it was
Hmm.
Blindside City when he was talking about Annika. And I mean, look, that Rome was blindsided. Whether it's one
Yeah.
person on a blindside, it's funny that no one else was like, "Oh, what? Rome's going home?" Like that's pretty rare when that happens. Like
Hmm.
where it's only the person who gets voted out that was blindsided. And Blindside City just felt real good because it felt like a city of people at that tribal.
Yeah.
And yeah, Blindside City. Shout out Andy, still in the game, even though I said you'd go home first. Still in it. I'm glad. Made it to the merge. Good for you. All right, let's decide who goes home next week in episode 7, the first official merge vote. I don't know if it means they're going to be in the jury. It usually does, but
Usually it does. Yeah.
usually it does. But we'll see. There have been times where Jeff's like, and you will be voted out, and you will not be in the jury.
Hmm.
So we'll see. But first vote out of the merge tribe. Who do you think is going to be?
I think you got to pick. I mean,
No,
you
you're
need
on a
more
roll.
options.
You're heating up. I'm letting you go
Okay.
first.
All right.
Unless
My
you pick who I
prediction is
pick.
Gabe.
Dang, I did write Gabe. You could have Gabe. You could have Gabe, but I wrote down
And
Gabe.
I think it's because I think I think Tiana's gonna put out that Sue has her idol, and so I think they're gonna end up maybe splitting it between Sue, Gabe,
Yeah.
and I don't see Sue playing it for Gabe over herself.
Yeah.
If she catches wind, that's an option.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
They also
Um,
said in the preview that they want to get a guy out.
yes. Yeah, yeah.
So,
They did seem to hint towards the guys, and like
hmm
I think I'll say Sam. I'm worried because
yeah,
I
that was
I'm
my
wor-
other one too.
I'm worried because I think he'll win immunity or something, or he'll use that
hmm
fake idol. So if
Yeah,
yeah, I think if he uses the fake idol in some way or another, because I think that's coming too eventually.
hmm
But yeah, it could be a fake tease though, where the girls actually don't link up. If they do, this season could take a hard turn if they get smart
yeah,
like that, because that has
hmm
happened before, and that's not fun to watch. But it's a good way to win the game. So
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see, dude. Good season so far. Great season. Like
hmm
pre-merge, man. Like
definitely.
this is insane. We are like someone at work was saying like, man, you guys still watching Survivor? And it's like, dude, it's back. It is here, and it is like you could argue better than ever. Like it's so good. There's a bit of
Something we didn't get last year that I'm really hoping we get though is like some true alliances.
yeah,
We didn't get a lot of that last year. We got more of the voting blocks. I want alliances. I want a
yeah,
group of 4 or 5 people that are going to run the show,
yeah,
go
yeah.
get close to the end, and then somebody stabs them in the back, something
Yeah.
like that. I
Yeah,
want
no,
that.
you're right. When it happened with Austin and Drew and D and
That was perfect.
that was a really they made a good run. And I do
hmm
really feel the like Gabe has said so many times that like Sue's my person, and Sue has been like Gabe's my person, and Caroline's like Sue, I got you. I think that
Yeah.
might be our trio. I just hope they stick together long, because I mean I think Sierra and Sam are a good duo, but they seem to be scared about the fact that they're a good duo because
hmm
everyone's on to them. And no one
Yeah.
realizes that Sue is playing this game hard, and Sue's going to win an individual immunity. And it's going to be great.
hmm
And maybe we'll both have a shot that night. Who knows? I don't know. Join us next time, episode 7, Survivor 47. We'll see you then.